Okay, so the last type of compound we're going to go over and how to write the formulas and name are binary molecular compounds. So these are going to contain two nonmetals. Or sometimes, in rare instances, you'll have a metalloid and a nonmetal. But what you will see is they'll be close together on the periodic table. So the formulas, remember with ionic compounds, we were always doing the lowest whole number ratio. We call these empirical formulas. With molecular formulas, it's gonna actually tell us the number of atoms of each element in one molecule of that substance. So here, you notice here that for acetylene, we have C2H2. We don't simplify this. So this will tell us the exact number of atoms, and it may not necessarily be the lowest whole number ratio. Okay, so the naming rules for these are, we're going to be using prefixes. So these are the 10 prefixes you should be familiar with. The ending for these will always be IDE, just like with our ionic compounds. And if we only have one atom on the first element, we do not include a prefix for that. So if we look at the first example here, carbon monoxide, we don't put mono with carbon. Otherwise, the first element will have a prefix if there's more than one. The second element always has a prefix. So I'm going to write that on here. So second element always has a prefix. First, only if greater than 1. Okay, so if we look at this one here, dinitrogen monoxide, so we only have one of the second one, but we put mono in front of it. Okay, so let me just look at one more. So the other thing you need to watch out for is if the prefix has 2 syllables and the name of the element begins with a vowel, you can drop the vowel at the end of the prefix. So you look at carbon pentoxide. We don't say carbon pentaoxide. Okay, so that we see that, and that just makes it easier to say. Okay, so let's practice with some molecular compounds. So on the left-hand side here, with these, remember, you do not use the charges. So we're going to look at our first element. Here we have carbon. There's no prefix. That means there's one of them. So we would just write C. We see the di here, and that's sulfur. So we'd put CS2. So the prefix becomes a subscript on that particular element. The next one, silicon dioxide. Again, we write our first element, Si. There's no prefix. There's only one of them. And then we have 2 oxygens because there's a di here. So we put SiO2. And here, with this one, with number 7, we have that di here, so be H2, and then mono, S. And seeing if there are any that we could have simplified. I don't see anything like that. Okay, let's go to the next side. And on this side, the first element only has a prefix if there's more than one of them. So we only have one nitrogen, so we just write down nitrogen. We have one of the second one. The second one always has a prefix, so that would be mon. And since we have a double syllable prefix, mono, oxide, we drop the letter at the end of our prefix would be just monoxide instead of saying monooxide. Go down to number 19. We have two of the first ones. The first one has a prefix if there's more than one, so we write diphosphorus. And then we have 5 of the second one, so we have penta. So since we have a double vowel, pentaoxide, what we do is we get rid of the A in the prefix, and we slide this over. So it's going to be pentoxide. Much easier to say than pentaoxide. Okay, guys, so try these, see how you're doing, see if you have any questions.